You were born into a world sealed behind colossal walls, surrounded by monsters that eat people for fun. Your arrival? Let's just say the universe could have made a better decision. From the very first moment, you made your presence known. Your cries were so loud the neighbors thought a titan had broken through. Even the chickens outside gave up their clucking to try and understand the chaos. Life in Wall Maria was a constant battle. Bread, soup, repeat. If it wasn't soup, you were probably hungry. No fancy meals here, unless you count the crumbs you fought over with the family dog. The walls, your whole world. Your parents swore they kept you safe, but let's face it, they were just giant signs that said, "Do not disturb, enter at your own risk." No one really knew what was beyond the walls, but your parents made sure you knew one thing. Don't go outside, or you'll become Titan Chow. Your dreams were big, being a scout, battling titans, or, maybe a baker, just for the free bread. Whatever path you imagined, one thing was certain. The walls made you feel secure, untouchable, like nothing outside could ever reach you. But dreams have a way of shattering when reality comes crashing through, and for you, that moment was just around the corner. It started with a deafening boom that shook the ground beneath your feet. Before you could even process what was happening, the colossal titan appeared, its steaming, monstrous form looming over Wall Maria. With one terrifying kick, it obliterated the gate, sending shockwaves of destruction through the district. Chaos erupted instantly. Buildings crumbled, people screamed, and the titans flooded in like a living nightmare. You didn't think, you just ran, dodging falling debris. You sprinted down the streets, your lungs burning as you screamed louder than anyone else, and narrowly avoiding a chunk of stone that crashed where you'd been moments before. A titan's massive hand reached out, and you ducked just in time, your legs carrying you faster than you ever thought possible. The streets were pure pandemonium, but you didn't stop. Not even when a stray cabbage smacked you in the face. People were crying, clutching their loved ones, but all you could focus on was survival. When you finally made it to the evacuation route leading to Walrose, you were battered, breathless, and covered in dirt, but alive. That's when it hit you. You hadn't just lost your bread, you'd lost your mother, the one who always believed in your dream of opening a bakery. She had pushed you to safety, her voice telling you to keep going, just before the Titans took her. The bread she'd made that morning was gone too, crushed in the chaos. Sitting among the survivors, you clenched your fists and promised, "One day I'll make those Titans pay, and I'll bake the bread she always dreamed of." The camps were nothing like the life you once knew, crowded and filthy. They reeked of despair, rations barely enough to quiet your growling stomach, and the endless lines of hollow-eyed survivors only made it worse. Nights were cold, and days felt longer than they should, filled with the haunting cries of those who'd lost everything. Survival wasn't just hard, it felt impossible. One day, as you sat in the dirt, clutching your aching stomach, you overheard whispers about the Cadet Corps. Joining meant food, shelter, and a chance to do something other than waste away in misery. At first, you hesitated. Fighting Titans sounded like a death wish, but hunger has a way of silencing fear. With no money, no home, and no future in sight, you decided to enlist. Whether it was for survival or revenge, you weren't sure yet, but anything was better than starving in a refugee camp. The first day of training was a train wreck. You strapped into the ODM gear, ready to conquer the skies, only to launch straight into disaster. Instead of a smooth swing, you spun wildly like a windmill, smacking into the dirt with a thunderous crash. Laughter echoed from the other recruits, while the instructor bellowed, "Are you fighting Titans or digging tunnels?" Over the next few days, your improvement was marginal. You still crashed into walls and occasionally ended up spinning out of control, but at least you stayed upright. When you finally managed a proper swing without hitting anything, the recruits gave you a slow, sarcastic applause. You took a bow, pretending it was a standing ovation. One evening, as you shoveled down your sad excuse for dinner in the mess hall, your mentor, an old battle-scarred veteran with eyes like steel, decided to drop some hard truths. "Listen up," he growled. "Titans don't care about your hopes, your dreams, or your survival. They'll rip you apart because that's what they do." His words were like a punch to the gut. "If you think this is a heroic adventure, you're already dead." The room went deathly quiet, the weight of his words sinking in. He described their speed, their raw power, and their unrelenting hunger. Your hands trembled slightly as you gripped your tray. For the first time, you truly grasped the terror of what you'd signed up for. But before despair could settle in, his tone hardened. "Fear is good. Fear keeps you alive, but fear alone won't save you. Skill and guts will. If you're still standing here tomorrow, that means you've got both. Prove it. His words lingered long after he left. Fear gnawed at you, but so did resolve. You couldn't back down, not after coming this far. You'd already survived so much. No way were you giving up now. The day had come, your first mission beyond the walls. Standing in formation, heart hammering, you watched as the massive gate creaked open, revealing the vast world outside. No walls, no safety, just open fields stretching endlessly under a sky too big to feel real. Your grip tightened on your horse's reins. This is it. I'm finally doing something real. But another thought whispered, or this is how I die. The first hour was eerily calm, almost peaceful. Then, boom, a distant rumble. "Titan sighted!" someone shouted. An 8-meter Titan lumbered into view, its crooked grin stretching too wide. Your blood ran cold. The formation shifted into attack positions, but your hands were shaking. You fired your ODM gear, badly. Instead of soaring in for a strike, you hooked the wrong tree and spun out of control, crashing into a bush. Then, thud. The Titan turned toward you. Just as doom loomed over you, a teammate zipped in, slashing at the Titan's legs. "Get up, you idiot!" Scrambling to your feet, you found yourself face to face with the creature. Its massive hand reached for you. Panic surged, but desperation moved faster. You fired your gear. This time, it worked. In a blur, you flew up and slashed at the back of its neck. With a thunderous crash, the Titan collapsed. You stared at its lifeless body. You were still alive. Around you, teammates cheered or shook their heads. "Not bad for a walking disaster," someone teased. Still shaking, you let out a nervous laugh. As terrifying as it was, you survived. Maybe, just maybe, you could actually do this. Every day beyond the walls felt like living on borrowed time. Scouting missions were a relentless test of nerves, each step a gamble between life and death. The world outside was eerily quiet, until it wasn't. Titans had a way of appearing out of nowhere, turning calm into chaos in an instant. You'd seen comrades ripped from their horses, their screams echoing before being cut short. Nights were even worse. Sitting around a dying fire, eyes scanning the darkness, you couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, watching. Sleep came in short, restless bursts, your hand always gripping your blades. But danger forges strength, and you were no exception. Each mission made you faster, sharper, tougher. The first time you killed a Titan alone, your hands shook so badly you nearly dropped your blades. Now, you could land clean strikes without hesitation. You weren't the clumsy recruit spinning into trees anymore, though your squad never let you forget it. "Careful, don't take out any bushes this time," they'd tease before a fight. Still, what kept you going wasn't just survival, it was humor. You cracked jokes to break the tension, earning groans and smirks from your squadmates. "If we survive this, I'm charging Titan's rent," or "think they prefer their meals screaming or silent?" It wasn't much, but in a world ruled by monsters, laughter was its own kind of victory. And for now, you were still here, still human.